Hello everyone, welcome to ENbreeEN, the daily current affairs news discussion by Team Enlight. Today we shall be discussing the following important topics. The first topic for today is GATI SHAKTI Project and National Hydrogen Mission. So why was this GATI SHAKTI project in news? So yesterday, which was 15th of August, on the Independence Day, the Prime Minister announced that the centre will launch the PM JAN Shakti Master Plan. And what is this scheme about? So it's a 100 lakh crore national infrastructure master plan which will make a foundation for holistic infrastructure and give an integrated pathway for our economy. How does this scheme help in India's growth story? So first of all, it will help our local manufacturers and help them compete with the international counterparts. Secondly, it will raise the possibility of new future economic zones. It can be a source of employment opportunities for the youth in the future, as it will create a lot of new infrastructure for job creation. Also, under this master plan, the plan is to connect all the northeastern state capitals with railway services and also connect with the neighboring countries of Myanmar, Bangladesh, regions in Southeastern Asia, etc. So, from mains point of view, you can use this scheme when you are talking about BIMSTEC or blue economy or connectivity, as well as when you talk about development of northeast and better security, etc. So, over here I would like to bring in a comparison because there are some other schemes also which the government has launched related to infrastructure. So, first one and the most important one, which you must also know the comparison between that, what are the key provisions of this scheme also. It is the National Infrastructure Pipeline. So, the first thing is it was announced in 2019 and it was a 100 lakh crore to be invested in infrastructure over the next 5 years. And over here the emphasis was on ease of living. So, over here as you can see, it was basically focused on safe drinking water, access to clean and affordable energy, health care for all, modern railways, airports, etc. Over here it is very important for you to remember that the NIP included both economic as well as social infrastructure. In economic infrastructure, you may consider the road, railways, etc. Whereas for social infrastructure is like education, healthcare, etc. And also it would be very crucial for India to become a 5 trillion economy. So, next important point in this is that the ratio in which the investment will be done. So, the investments will be done by the centre, the states and the private sector. So, as you can see, it will be in the ratio of 39, 39 and 22. So, here are a few more important schemes which are important for you from prelims point of view as well as in your mains answer writing for giving examples. So, these are important schemes in regards with the urban development or infrastructure development. For example, the smart cities, the Amrit, the Swachh Bharat mission, Hriday, etc. So, let us move on to the next topic. Over here, next topic is the National Hydrogen Mission. So, why was it in news? As mentioned previously also, yesterday Prime Minister Modi announced the National Hydrogen Mission in regards with the centre's focus on climate change. Also, the National Hydrogen Mission was introduced in the budget of 2021 as well. So, what is the scheme for? The focus is on generation of hydrogen from green power sources, that is called the green hydrogen, as well as to link India's growing renewable capacity with the hydrogen economy. So, first of all, we should be able to understand why hydrogen is an important as a fuel. So, the number one foremost point is that hydrogen can be used in internal combustion engines or fuel cells, and it produces virtually no amount of greenhouse gas emission, as we have seen with other sources of energy, for example coal, petroleum, etc. There is huge production or emission of greenhouse gases which is responsible for climate change and global warming. So, that is why hydrogen is a preferred form of fuel. Also, the only significant emission is of water vapors, as well as the hydrogen fuel cells have very high efficiency. So, these are important points. Next, we shall study some of the disadvantages which are there and why we are not able to use hydrogen as a fuel so commonly today. One thing is it is very expensive. Storage complications are there since hydrogen has very low density, so it needs to be stored in the liquefied form by compressing it. Third is hydrogen is highly flammable and volatile substance. So obviously during transportation or transferring it from one place to the other, many unwanted incidents can happen. Then transport of hydrogen is difficult through pipelines, as in otherwise in the case of petroleum etc. you can directly transfer it through pipelines. Also the separation from oxygen requires other non-renewable sources such as coal, oil, natural gas. So therefore we are still depending on fossil fuels for the production of hydrogen fuel, and hence in the overall cycle we are leaving behind carbon footprint and emitting certain greenhouse gases. So therefore we need to find ways of producing green hydrogen, that is using renewable sources of energy to do this. Here are a few applications. So hydrogen fuel cell can be used to power buses, trains. If you remember, Germany recently started this train which was being run by hydrogen fuel cell, the spaceships, power backups etc. So hydrogen fuel cells can be used in multiple ways. So next is how do we get this green hydrogen and how is it produced? So it is produced by splitting water into oxygen and hydrogen using an electrolyzer which is powered by electricity from renewable sources of energy. So as you can see in the figure over here, this is an electrolysis process happening. We need not go into the details, but you must just understand that you need to apply some power, and on one electrode, that is the cathode, you will get hydrogen, and on the anode oxygen will be produced, and you can collect this, and this can be used for producing energy through hydrogen. So next is what is grey hydrogen. So this is what we are producing in bulk right now in India. It is extracted from hydrocarbons, and the byproduct is CO2. Hence it is not that beneficial for us because we are still producing greenhouse gas in the environment. Next is blue hydrogen. So this is also produced from fossil fuels etc. But what happens is the byproducts are captured and stored, and hence it is better than the grey hydrogen. Now we shall discuss the policy challenges. So it is important from the mains point of view because there could be questions in mains related to India becoming a superpower in hydrogen production etc. So you must know certain of these and keep them in mind. So economic sustainability of extracting green or blue hydrogen, and currently the technology of production which is being used etc. is in very nascent stage. So we need to spend a lot more on R&D. So we need to do a lot more investments in R&D which is still not being done, and also we need high quality infrastructure for production, storage, transportation etc. of this hydrogen. Then also it's not just that once you produce these cells, there are post completion maintenance costs etc. of a plant. So all these are challenges. Basically investment and funding are the problem in making hydrogen as a commonly used fuel in India right now. Now here are some prelims related facts. So these are important from prelims point of view, as well as when you start your mains answer, you could start by giving some of these facts in your mains answer. So over here, India announced increasing the renewable energy target to 450 gigawatts by 2030. The nationally determined contributions, that is INDC, India has pledged to increase the share of non-fossil fuels based electricity to 40%. Then about the Green Energy Corridor project, which is basically synchronizing electricity produced from renewable sources such as solar and wind with conventional power stations in the grid. And last is the Indian Railways has announced to meet the net zero carbon emission by 2030. Some few terms which I found were important which you could use in your answers during mains etc. are green growth and green jobs. So just keep them in mind. The next topic is the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. So why was it in news? The scheme has completed 7 years since its launch in 2014. And the main basis for the Jan Dhan Yojana was financial inclusion of the poor and also liberating them from the vicious cycle of poverty. So I will be discussing some very basic features of this scheme, and this scheme is very important from both prelims and the mains point of view. So here is that the scheme covers both urban as well as rural areas, and it provides the indigenous debit card, which is called the RuPay card. So there is no minimum balance which you need to maintain for this bank account, and also you can go to any branch or bank branch or business correspondent for the so there is an inbuilt accidental insurance when you become a beneficiary of the PM JAN DHAN Yojana, and the OD limit initially was 5,000 rupees. So OD limit is the overdraft which you can take, and it has been increased to 10,000, and also in certain cases it became 20,000, and also they increased the age limit from 60 to 65 years. So these are some basic features of the scheme. So next is the objectives. So basic objective is access of financial products and services at affordable cost for all, and use of technology. So basic tenets is banking the unbanked. Because before the scheme there was a huge population in India which was not part of the banking services, and they were not being able to access basic services like insurance and transferring their salary, etc. So this helps them, that for example ATM card usage, etc. Then issuance of then securing the unsecured, you have accident insurance cover, and also direct benefit transfer by the government is now being done in the Jan Dhan accounts of the people. So all these has helped people, and also you can take micro pension or micro credits from this account itself. So overall it has helped in financial inclusion of people, and hence overall better standard of living. How has the scheme benefited the people? So first of all, it is an avenue for bringing the poor into savings and formal financial system, and also getting them out of the clutches of the spurious money lenders. For example, previously in the village setting, usually these money lenders, they used to charge high rates of interest and also collateral, etc. So because of this, the poor used to remain poor, and they will constantly be caught up in the vicious cycle of debts. So this has helped farmers and other poor and also rural people to access the formal banking systems. Next is financial empowerment of the women. So you can use it in different answers, this scheme, because it has helped them open bank accounts and help them start some business, SHGs, and which has in the overall run, what it has done, that they have achieved better social and economic status of women in the society. It has also improved the financial literacy of the people. For example, now people know what is the benefits of savings, and how to use an ATM card, credits, pension, insurance, mobile banking, etc., which has given an impetus to digital banking in India, and also it has reduced what you say is black money, etc., in India. Then next is during the pandemic, under the Garib Kalyan Yojana, 500 rupees were transferred to every woman Jan Dhan account holder for 3 months. So this account has also helped during pandemic for government to access people who were poor in rural settings, who lost their jobs, etc. So next, the important part over here is, in this news article, it is talking that we must move from financial inclusion to financial empowerment. And how does that happen? They are saying it will be done by providing credit to the people. So main constraints in providing credit in low income households and informal business is lack of information available with the formal creditors to determine the credit worthiness. So this results in high cost of credit. And this scheme, that is PMJDY, it helps to fill in this gap actually. So the new what happens is, we already have the previous information about transactions which are being done in each account, etc. So we already have a history of each account holder, how they are operating and how much money they are putting in, and so on and so forth. So this will help us create new models which can be developed using artificial intelligence and machine learning models regarding what sort of credit should be given. Then so you can use this in your mains answer writing also, that is PM JAN DHAN Vridhi, that is progress in your financial status. Vridhi can help in expansion of MSME, small unorganized business, helps in starting a new business and improves the consumption in the economy. When people take credit, they will be using it to buy something from the market, which improves the consumption, and it has a multiplier effect on the economy because it goes the economic cycle running. So these are important points. So what must be done to achieve this financial empowerment? So we must move from a cash based to digital transaction economy, and we should have which will lead to better credit and transaction history. Also we must reduce the cost per transaction. See, a lot of people would not like to do online transactions, because each time you do that transaction a small amount of money is cut. So if we reduce that cost, the number of transactions which are taking place online will go up. Way forward, improving the access of PMJDY account holders through microcredit and micro investments, as well as the most important point is financial literacy and digital literacy for the common man must be increased. So they are encouraged to join the formal banking system, etc. So below are few facts and figures. For example, as per now, till now there are 42.89 crore beneficiaries of PMJDY, and more than half of the beneficiaries are women, which is an important point which you can put in your mains answer writing, etc. Also, global index has given that 80% of people above the age of 15 in lower middle income group now have a bank account, as compared to only 53% in 2014. So here is a mains question for you, which was there previously asked in mains 2016. So you can see how these topics get linked and how the questions are framed in mains mains. So the next topic is transparent taxation. So here the saying is that honoring the honest platform to honor the honest taxpayers of the country. So key features, I will tell it in very brief, because all these are you can go through them later also. So the main aim is bringing transparency in the income tax system and also empowering the taxpayers. So the main features are the faceless assessment, that is there won't be any interface between the person who is submitting the tax and the income tax department, the officer. Then faceless appeal system, that is the appeals will be allotted randomly to any officer, and the identity of the officer will not be shown or will remain unknown. So this will help to curb lot of corruption, etc. And also the selection of the taxpayers is done through using analytics and artificial intelligence. And the last important one is the taxpayers charter. It tells about the rights and responsibilities of both the tax officer and the taxpayer. So the next is, why do we need this transparent taxation? So first of all, in India, the tax administration has been known for tax harassment. That's why government introduced this faceless income tax to reduce the scope of basically corruption and overreach by the officials. For example, the famous case, as you knew about VG Siddhartha, he suicided because of the harassment which was done by the tax officials. So after that, such laws were passed so that harassment does not take place. And also it will help in increasing the tax base in the country, which is very low right now in India. So next is just a small discussion about recent direct tax reforms. So you can just keep in mind, these were recently there in the news. The corporate tax rates were reduced by government from 30% to 22%, and for manufacturing units they were further reduced to 15%. Then dividend distribution tax was abolished in 2019. The DIN number is important because it is the document identification number, and it is used for communication in between the department, and it is computer generated. So it will help for that, so that no corruption happens in between, etc. Then next is important is Direct Tax Se Vivad Vishwas Act 2020. You can go to internet etc. and read about the various features or provisions of this particular act. It is important. So next let's move on to the next topic, that is research and development need impacts on the economy. So this topic is very important from mains point of view. There is very little from prelims point of view over here actually. So here what you can see is that why indigenous R&D is needed. First of all, you must understand why is it needed, why can't we just keep importing technology from outside, or why do we need research labs etc. So first of all, India's gross expenditure on R&D is mere 0.65% of its GDP, whereas for most of the advanced economies etc. it's around 1.5 to 3%. So what happens is when we invest in R&D, economic growth happens, productivity increases, because when you are generating your own technology, you already are solving a problem which is indigenous to your country, so it improves the productivity. Plus you can export that technology, which creates revenue, and also there is an increase in the employment and capital formation. It lowers the expenditure on import of technology, because you are actually, if you are not having any technology, you will have to import and spend lot of money. For example, the defense expenditure of India is very high because we are importing it from say US, Russia or Israel. If we were able to create that technology by ourselves, it will reduce a lot of import expenditure, right? And it also improves as you can make a cycle also for such things, like improves the productivity, employment and so on and so forth. And when economy improves, so standard of living also improves. Plus it will help India to move from a consumption based economy to a technology and knowledge driven economy. This was also a sentence in the budget, so you can use such terms in your mains answers also. So the next is why India can provide a favorable R&D environment. So first of all, the thing is there is a huge market for new products. So this is a good starting point for innovation and R&D. We are more, there is a huge young generation which is there to try out new products etc. So there is a huge market for developing new products, and people are ready to try them. Also India has a huge pool of English speaking manpower. So when we are doing these research or whatever it is, we can easily export it also. Then the government has keen interest. So government itself is showing keen interest in R&D through its own programs like Make in India, Atal Innovation Labs and so on. And there are tax incentives on innovation. So now we'll come to reasons for low R&D spending in India. First of all, the main reason is there is poor private sector R&D. The problem is most of our the public sector companies etc. are not doing so much R&D. We are mostly importing the technology in them, and as you can see, 90% of the patents filed in India were from the MNCs itself. So these are not indigenous companies from India. Next, there is a weak linkage in India between the industry and the universities, which is not so in these countries like US, UK, Germany etc., where these companies, if they have a problem, they go to these universities or research centers and ask them to do the research for them, and then they buy these solutions from them. So there has to be a strong linkage between these two so that R&D develops in India. Second, next important thing is that we have in Indian universities, the curriculum has not been modified according to changing times. There is no focus on application. So the mindset of the people is not into problem solving and finding applications to a theorem or something which you are studying. Next is that most of the funding is into software, e-commerce, digital payments etc., and very less funding is dedicated to fields which are very research oriented, like genetics, clinical research, quantum computing and so on and so forth. So there is weak IPR policy. IPR is very important because when a researcher is doing certain research, they should have that belief that their research will be published in their name, and it will not be there won't be any theft etc., or intellectual property rights will not be violated. So we do not have a very strong IPR. That is another problem. So we should improve on our IPR also. So next is what should be done. So first of all, we should start very early from school itself to improve maths and cognitive skills, problem solving skills, and also start training people in new fields like artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain technology, big data analysis, etc. National labs to universities should be linked to R&D, and also new knowledge ecosystems, etc., to improve science, etc. And also private sector should be encouraged to focus more on R&D and spending CSR fund on R&D. So this all will help us improve our R&D in the country. Thank you so much for listening to today's discussion.